You know, there's a curious thing I've noticed in my years of studying mythology and the human spirit. When you look at the great mystics, the awakened beings, the heroes who've crossed the threshold and returned, they all share something rather remarkable. They laugh at death, not in a mocking way, not in denial, but with genuine joy and understanding. And people always ask me, Joseph, how can anyone laugh at death? Isn't that the one thing we should fear above all else? Well, let me share with you 5 reasons why those who are truly awake see death not as an enemy, but as an old friend. The first reason, they've discovered the eternal within. The first reason the awake laugh at death is profoundly simple. They've discovered something inside themselves that doesn't die. Now, I'm not talking about some wishful thinking or religious dogma. I'm talking about a direct experience of what the mystics call the eternal self, what the Hindus call Atman, what the Buddhists might call Buddha nature. You see, most of us identify completely with our biographical self. We think we are the story. We think we are this person born on such and such a date, with such and such a history, heading towards such and such a future. And naturally, if that's all we think we are, death is terrifying because it means the end of the story, the cancellation of the program, the final curtain. But the awakened person has had an experience that changes everything. They've discovered that beneath the story, beneath the personality, beneath all the thoughts and memories and plans, there's something else. There's a consciousness, an awareness, a presence that has been watching the whole show. And this consciousness doesn't age. It doesn't accumulate memories. It doesn't have a birthday or a death day. It simply is. Think about it this way. When you were 5 years old, there was an awareness looking out through your eyes. When you were 15, there was an awareness. When you were 25, 35, 55, there's still that same awareness. Your body has completely changed. Every cell has been replaced multiple times. Your thoughts are different. Your beliefs are different. Your entire personality might be transformed. But that basic awareness, that fundamental consciousness that says I am before it says I am this or that hasn't changed at all. The mystics of every tradition have discovered this. They call it by different names. The Christians might call it the Christ within, the kingdom of heaven that is within you. The Sufis call it the beloved. The Taoists call it the way. But they're all pointing to the same thing. There's something in you that transcends the temporal, the biological, the historical. When you identify with that, when you know yourself to be that, death loses its sting. Oh, the body will die, certainly. The personality will dissolve. The story will end. But what you really are continues because it was never born in the first place. That which is timeless cannot be threatened by time. That which is eternal cannot fear extinction. I remember reading about the Zen master who was told he was dying. His students gathered around weeping, asking for his final words of wisdom. And he laughed. He said, I've been dying all along. Every moment is death and birth. This moment now, whatever comes, it's just more of the same dance. And then he closed his eyes and died with a smile on his face. That's not bravado. That's not pretense. That's the response of someone who knows they are not the wave but the ocean. The wave rises and falls, appears and disappears. But the ocean doesn't go anywhere. It was here before the wave. It'll be here after the wave. And in fact, it is the wave while the wave is happening. The second reason, they understand the hero's journey. The second reason the awake laugh at death is because they understand what I've spent my whole life studying, the hero's journey. And they see that death is not the opposite of the journey. Death is part of the journey. In fact, it's the most important part. Every great myth, every great story that has moved the human heart for thousands of years contains the same pattern. The hero must die. Not might die, not could die, must die. The old self must be destroyed so the new self can be born. This is the fundamental pattern of transformation. Look at Jesus. Dies on the cross, descends into hell, rises on the third day. Look at Osiris in Egyptian mythology. Killed, dismembered, scattered, then reassembled and resurrected. Look at the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, attacked by the forces of Mara. He must die to his old way of seeing before enlightenment can dawn. Look at Inanna descending into the underworld, stripped of everything, killed, hung on a hook, then reborn. This is not just ancient mythology. This is the pattern of every genuine transformation in human life. The caterpillar must die for the butterfly to emerge. The seed must die for the plant to grow. The adolescent must die for the adult to be born. And the ego must die for the true self to awaken. The awakened person has already died many times. They've died to their false ideas about themselves. They've died to their illusions. They've died to their need to control and their need to know. They've undergone what the mystics call ego death, the dark night of the soul, the great dying. And what they've discovered is that death is not the end of the journey. It's the middle of the journey. It's the turning point. It's the transformation. On the other side of death is rebirth, renewal, resurrection. Not in some future heaven, but right here, right now. I used to tell my students, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are. But you can't be who you really are until you die to who you think you are. You can't find your true face until you lose the mask. You can't discover your authentic self until the false self is stripped away. Physical death then is just the final and most complete version of what the awakened person has been practicing all along. It's the ultimate letting go, the final surrender, the last transformation. And if you've died consciously many times in your life, if you've practiced letting go, if you've learned to surrender, then the final death holds no terror. It's just one more passage, one more threshold to cross. The hero always returns from the journey with a gift for the people. And what is that gift? It's the message that death is not to be feared. It's the message that transformation is possible. It's the message that on the other side of the darkest moment, there is light. The awakened person has made that journey and returned. They know the secret. Death is not the enemy. It's the doorway. The third reason, they've experienced ego death. The third reason those who are awake laugh at death is perhaps the most radical. They've already experienced something far more terrifying than physical death. They've experienced ego death, and once you've been through that and survived, once you've stared into that abyss and come out the other side, the death of the body seems almost trivial by comparison. Now, let me be clear about what I mean by ego death. I'm not talking about the loss of personality or the loss of individuality. I'm talking about the death of the illusion of separation, the death of the false self, the death of the belief that you are nothing but a separate, isolated, vulnerable little creature in a hostile universe. This experience has been described in every mystical tradition. The Christians call it crucifixion with Christ. The Buddhists call it the realization of no self or emptiness. The Hindus describe it as the dissolution of Maya, the veil of illusion. Psychologists might call it the breakdown of the ego structure. But whatever you call it, it's the same experience. The complete and utter collapse of everything you thought you were. I've talked to many people who've been through this, either through intensive meditation or through psychedelic experiences, or sometimes through spontaneous spiritual awakening, and they all describe it in similar terms. It's terrifying. It's like dying while you're still alive. It's as if the ground beneath your feet suddenly disappears and you're falling into infinite space. Everything you thought was solid, everything you thought was real, everything you used as a reference point for your identity, it all dissolves. Your name becomes just a sound. Your history becomes just a story. Your body becomes just a temporary collection of atoms. Your thoughts become just passing clouds. Your beliefs, your values, your entire worldview, it all collapses. And for a moment, for an hour, for a day, there's nothing. There's no one. There's just vast, empty, infinite consciousness with no center and no circumference. This is absolutely terrifying if you're not prepared for it. It's the death of everything you hold dear. It's the annihilation of your identity. Many people who experience this unprepared think they're going insane. Some are hospitalized. Some never quite recover. It's that intense. But here's the extraordinary thing. If you can surrender to it, if you can let go into that emptiness, if you can die into that void, something miraculous happens. You discover that the emptiness is not empty. The void is not void. That space of no self is actually infinite being, infinite presence, infinite awareness. What seemed like annihilation is actually liberation. What seemed like death is actually the most fully alive you've ever been. On the other side of ego death, you discover that what you really are cannot die because it was never born. You discover that consciousness itself, pure awareness, the very capacity to experience, that's what you are. And it's absolutely indestructible. The ego can die because it's just a construct, just a pattern, just a story. But awareness itself, that's eternal. Once you've been through this, once you've experienced the death of the ego and discovered that you're still here, more present than ever, more alive than ever, more yourself than ever, physical death loses its power over you. You realize that what you thought was going to be lost in death, the ego, is already dead. And what you discovered in that death, your true nature, cannot die. The awakened person walks around already dead to their false self. They're living in resurrection consciousness. They've been through the tomb and come out the other side. So when physical death approaches, it's not the great unknown. It's an old friend. It's a familiar passage. It's just another form of the transformation they've already experienced. This is why in many traditions, spiritual initiation involves a symbolic death. The old name is given up for a new name. The old clothes are removed for new robes. The old life is declared over so a new life can begin. These rituals are preparing the initiate for the ultimate initiation, which is death itself. And they're teaching the secret that the awake already know. You cannot lose what you really are. The fourth reason, they see death as return. Not end. The fourth reason the awakened laugh at death is because they don't see it as an ending at all. They see it as a returning, a coming home, a reunion with the source from which we all emerged and to which we all return. Think about it. Where were you before you were born? Now, most people would say nowhere. I didn't exist. But that's not quite accurate, is it? All the atoms that make up your body existed. All the energy that animates you existed. The universe was here, consciousness was here, life was here. You just hadn't yet taken this particular form. Your birth was not a creation out of nothing. It was a manifestation, a coming forth, an expression of something that was already there. You emerged from the universe the way a wave emerges from the ocean. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it, like a flower comes out of a plant. This is what the awakened person understands. They see that they are not separate from the universe. They are not visitors to this planet. They are not souls trapped in bodies. They are the universe itself, experiencing itself in this particular form at this particular place and time. The great mythologies understood this. In the Hindu tradition, they speak of Brahman breathing out to create the universe and breathing in to dissolve it. We are all part of that breath. We emerge on the out-breath. We return on the in-breath. It's a cosmic respiration, and death is simply the inhalation. The Taoists put it beautifully. They say that life is like a journey. You leave home, you travel far and wide, you have adventures, you learn things, you experience the world. But eventually you return home. And isn't there something sweet about that? After all the wandering, after all the struggling, after all the seeking, you come home. You return to the source. You rest in the arms of the eternal. Death from this perspective is not falling into darkness. It's waking up into light. It's not losing consciousness. It's consciousness losing its limitations. It's not the end of experience. It's the end of experiencing yourself as separate. I've often thought about what happens at death, based on all the myths and reports I've studied. The near-death experiences, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the mystical visions, and they all suggest the same thing. At death, the boundaries dissolve. The distinction between self and other collapses. You remember what you really are, which is everything, which is the all, which is God, if you want to use that word. It's like an actor so immersed in their role that they've forgotten their acting. They think they really are the character. Then the play ends, they take off the costume, wash off the makeup, and suddenly they remember, oh yes, I'm the actor. I was so caught up in the role I forgot who I really am. Death is taking off the costume. It's washing off the makeup. It's remembering that you're the actor, not the character. You're the consciousness that was playing at being a separate person, but you were never actually separate. You were always the whole pretending to be a part. The awakened person has already realized this while still alive. They know they're the actor even while the play continues. So death is not some terrible surprise. It's not a catastrophe. It's a relief. It's like finishing a difficult role and being able to rest. It's like waking up from a dream, no matter how vivid the dream was. I remember the words of Socrates before he drank the hemlock. His students were weeping, but he was calm, almost cheerful. He said, death is one of two things. Either it's a dreamless sleep, which is pleasant and restful, or it's a transition to another place where all those who have died before await. And if that's true, he said, what could be better than to meet and talk with Orpheus and Homer and all the great souls of the past? Either way, there's nothing to fear. Either way, it's a return to peace, a return to the source, a return to the great cosmic home, from which we all emerged and which we never really left. The awakened person knows this. And knowing this, how can they not laugh? How can they not approach death with joy, with curiosity? with the excitement of one who's about to complete a great journey and return home triumphant. The fifth reason, they've realized that death makes life sacred. And now we come to the fifth and perhaps most beautiful reason why the awakened laugh at death. They've realized that it's precisely because life is temporary that it's sacred. It's precisely because we die that each moment becomes infinitely precious. Death is not the opposite of life. Death is what makes life matter. Imagine if you were immortal. Imagine if you had infinite time. Would anything ever be urgent? Would any moment ever be special? Would you ever really pay attention to anything? No, you'd always think, I can do that later. I have eternity. The sunset? I'll catch the next one. This conversation. We can continue at any time. This experience? There'll always be another chance. But we don't have infinite time. We have this moment. This day. This lifetime. And that limitation, that boundary, that approaching horizon of death. It concentrates everything. It focuses everything. It makes everything matter. The Japanese have a beautiful concept called mono no aware. It means the pathos of things, the poignancy, the bittersweet beauty that comes from impermanence. Cherry blossoms are beautiful precisely because they last such a short time. If they bloomed all year round, would we gather to celebrate them? Would we write poems about them? Would they move us to tears? The awakened person sees all of life through this lens. They see the cherry blossom nature of everything. This conversation will never happen again. This sunset is unique. This moment is unrepeatable. Your face, your voice, this particular configuration of circumstances, it's all temporary. It's all passing. It's all dying even as it lives. And that makes it unutterably beautiful. When you really understand impermanence, when you really feel it in your bones, you stop taking things for granted. You stop sleepwalking through life. You stop waiting for the real life to begin someday in the future. You realize this is it. This is the real life, right now. This moment, this breath, this experience. I've noticed something about people who've had near-death experiences or who've been diagnosed with terminal illnesses. If they don't get stuck in fear, if they can move through the fear, they often report that life becomes more vivid, more beautiful, more meaningful than it ever was before. Colors seem brighter, food tastes better, relationships deepen. Simple things become profound. Why? Because they've remembered that it's all temporary. They've been reminded that death is coming, maybe soon. And that reminder wakes them up. The awakened person lives with this awareness all the time. They don't need a diagnosis or a close call to remember. They know deeply and constantly that this is all passing. And instead of making them morbid or depressed, it fills them with joy. It fills them with gratitude. It fills them with love. When you know that you'll die, when you know that everyone you love will die, when you know that all of this is temporary, you stop holding grudges. You stop wasting time on petty conflicts. You stop postponing what really matters. You forgive more easily. You love more openly. You live more fully. Death becomes not the enemy, but the teacher. It's the teacher that reminds us to wake up, to pay attention, to not take this miracle for granted. Every spiritual tradition has understood this. The Buddhists meditate on impermanence. The Christians remember memento mori, remember you will die. The Sufis speak of die before you die. All of them are pointing to the same teaching. When you embrace death, you embrace life. The awakened person has embraced death. They've made friends with it. They've understood that it's not the darkness that swallows the light, but the darkness that makes the light visible. It's not the end that negates the beginning, but the end that gives the beginning meaning. It's not the destroyer of value, but the creator of value. Think about a movie. If a movie went on forever, never ending, just scene after scene with no conclusion, no resolution, no finale, would it be a good movie? No, it would be torture. The ending is what gives shape to the whole. The ending is what allows you to look back and say, that was meaningful, that was complete, that was good. Death is the ending that gives shape to life. It's the frame that makes the picture comprehensible. It's the silence that makes the music meaningful. Without death, life would be formless, shapeless, meaningless. Death is what makes life into a story, into an adventure, into a hero's journey. And the awakened person, having understood this, laughs. They laugh with the joy of one who has solved the riddle. They laugh with the relief of one who has laid down a burden they didn't need to carry. They laugh with the freedom of one who has nothing to lose, because they've realized that what they are cannot be lost. The final teaching, so there you have it. 5 reasons why those who are truly awake, who have really seen into the nature of reality, who have made the hero's journey and returned, why they laugh at death. They've discovered the eternal within themselves. They understand the pattern of death and rebirth. They've already died to their false self. They see death as a return home. And they've realized that death is what makes life sacred. But here's the thing, and this is what I want to leave you with. You don't have to wait until you're on your deathbed to learn these lessons. You don't have to wait until death is staring you in the face to wake up. Every moment is offering you these teachings. Every ending is a little death. Every sleep is a rehearsal for the final sleep. Every breath out is a letting go. The question is, are you paying attention? Are you willing to look at what death has to teach you? Are you willing to die a little bit each day to your illusions, to your fears, to your need to control? Are you willing to practice the art of letting go? Because if you really engage with these teachings, you'll discover something extraordinary. You'll discover that death is not waiting for you at the end of life. Death is here now, woven into every moment, making every moment precious. And life is not something that will end someday. Life is eternal, deathless, indestructible, because life is what you are, not what you have. The mystics and the heroes and the awakened ones aren't laughing at death because they're foolish or in denial. They're laughing because they've seen the cosmic joke. The cosmic joke is that we spend our whole lives running from death when death is actually the secret to life. We spend our whole lives trying to be immortal when we already are immortal. We spend our whole lives trying to avoid the end when the end is what gives everything else meaning. So perhaps the real question is not, how can the awakened laugh at death? But how can the rest of us laugh at life until we've made friends with death? How can we really live until we've learned to die? How can we really love until we've accepted loss? How can we really be present until we've acknowledged impermanence? The awakened person has done this work. They've walked through the valley of the shadow of death and found that there's nothing there to fear. And now they walk through life with a lightness, a joy, a freedom that others marvel at. They're not weighed down by the fear of ending because they know that what they really are never ends. They're not grasping desperately at each moment because they know that each moment is complete in itself. They've solved the riddle. They've learned the secret. They've discovered that death is not the opposite of life, but a part of life, perhaps the most important part. And in discovering this, they've learned to truly live. So when you see someone who seems to laugh at death, who seems to face it with equanimity or even joy, don't think they're crazy. Don't think they're in denial. Understand that they know something you might not know yet. They've discovered something you might not have discovered yet. They've made friends with the great teacher, and that teacher has shown them how to live. And the beautiful thing is, this discovery is available to anyone. It's not reserved for saints or mystics or heroes. It's not hidden away in some monastery or temple. It's right here, right now, in every moment, in every ending, in every letting go. All you have to do is pay attention. All you have to do is be willing to look. All you have to do is say yes to the whole of life, including its end. When you do that, when you really do that, you'll find yourself laughing too. Not a nervous laugh, not a defensive laugh, but a deep, joyous, liberated laugh. The laugh of one who has seen through the illusion. The laugh of one who has returned from the journey. The laugh of one who knows the secret, and the secret is this. Death is not the end of the story. Death is part of the story, and the story is not a tragedy. The story is a comedy, a divine comedy, and we are all players in it. Actors on the great stage, performing our roles, living our myths, until the final curtain falls and we remove the mask and remember who we really are. So, live your myth. Play your part fully. Embrace the whole journey, including its end. And when death comes knocking, as it will for all of us, I hope you'll have the wisdom, the courage, and the awakening to open the door with a smile and say, "Hello, old friend. I've been expecting you. Come in, let's have tea. I've been looking forward to this conversation for a lifetime." That's what the awakened do. That's why they laugh. And that's the gift they offer to all of us, the possibility of living so fully, so consciously, so awake, that death becomes not the enemy but the friend, not the end but the culmination, not the darkness but the final light.